Five, four, three, two, one.
Okay, hello, willkommen, bienvenue, konnichiwa, ni hao, jambo. It's time for the Armist Inquisition yet again, episode 153 on Sunday the 4th of October. I'm Amish Phil.
I'm Amish Ben from an undisclosed secret location.
And I'm Amish Matt in my front room.
And this week's guest is a returning guest. He's a philosopher, author, founder of Astronism, Preston's very own Space Jesus, Cometan. Welcome back, Cometan. How are we doing, buddy?
Thank you for having me back. Yeah, obviously a lot has changed since last time I was on in March. So I was on just down, wasn't I? So not too bad. Talking about some interesting stuff.
Oh my word! You've been taken over by the robots. It's this internet.
Can you hear me?
That's better. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we missed. That sounded like a lovely introduction.
Yeah.
I was saying.
We couldn't hear a word of it.
Yeah, I'm annoyed about
that. all the vowels were missing.
All right. Okay. Oh gosh. I've got internet, so I don't know what's going on.
I think the gist of it was
this new world, isn't it, that we're living in?
Yep.
The last time
Too bad I can't be there in person.
Well, I was going to say, the last time we spoke in early March, you were the last guest that we had in the studio.
All right. Okay. And, well,
you were gearing up for your first public speaking event.
I was, which obviously was cancelled, unfortunately, and the venue that it was at is sort of closed indefinitely. They can't run events there now till next year, maybe. So it's really sad. Yeah.
Have you been filling your time during the lockdown?
Well, I've been busy. Towards like the beginning of it, I was finishing off some assignments and stuff, and then I got straight into my master's dissertation, which I've been doing pretty much for the last 3 months, from sort of June till September, and that's kind of what I want to talk about today, and go through what I found out and what I wanted to find out, and what mysteries still evade us. So no, I've been busy with different things, of course, and just spending time with family as well.
Yeah. I think it might be useful, just sort of kind of briefly, just for people who didn't hear, who haven't gone back and listened to episode 122. Can you give us like the Cliff Notes version of Astronism and what it entails?
Yeah, I mean, today I'm sort of not really going to speak we can speak about Astronism, but it's mainly we're going to be talking more about the tradition of religion that I think Astronism belongs to, and sort of how that relates to other religions, philosophies and movements. I sort of listened back to March, the episode in March a few days ago, and how much things have changed with Astronism since then. It's quite interesting to go back and listen to it. Right. Quite a lot's changed. We've got a few more websites now, but the central premise is still a space religion, but now I've sort of got a better kind of overview of sort of what it entails even from 6 months ago, I have an even better idea now.
Do you think
that is, yeah?
Do you think that because of the research you've been doing for your masters, that's given you a bit of a foundation, a grounding for the theology?
Definitely, yeah. It's allowed me to go way back in history to sort of prehistoric times and looking at archaeology. I've become an archaeologist a bit of one anyway this summer from my house anyway, having to look at artifacts from sort of prehistoric times and sort of what these sort of ancient and prehistoric people used to believe about the space, obviously, and so yes, going back in time has really allowed me to sort of put into perspective what's happening now, with astronism in the contemporary. So definitely it's allowed me to have that foundation, and also it's informed some new beliefs and ideas as well that are part of astronism. One that I want to talk about maybe a bit later on is astronality, which is a new word I've come up with, coined, if you will. I think it might have existed in a few other bits on the internet, but I've sort of I've coined that term to refer to sort of a belief that has come from my theories about prehistoric times and how that relates to today. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's been good.
Why don't we go into that then? The prehistoric origins of all this.
Yeah, so the basis of what my dissertation was and the vision that I had for it, I kind of came up with about maybe a year ago. And so I knew then that I was going to start my dissertation, and that's what I wanted to find out. And that was, where do beliefs about the stars, where do sort of religious, spiritual beliefs about the stars, where do they come from? Really going back before ancient civilizations, where do they really come from in prehistory? And so for that, I had to look at the origins of religion, looking at sort of star worship and all the different forms, moon worship, sun worship, all these different elements that people other scholars have looked at, but they'd never really categorize them into their own tradition. So obviously in religion we have three main traditions, the Abrahamic, the Dharmic, which is the Indian religions, and the Taoic ones, which is the Chinese religions. And my hypothesis was that these sort of astronomical beliefs, including like astrology, which we can come to later, because that was a dispute in and of itself, whether astrology belongs to this tradition. That's an ongoing dispute. But also things like star worship, where do they come from? Where do they fit in? They've often been sort of added into like paganism, and sort of adopted into those types of movements. And they are pagan, of course, but I do think that they deserve sort of their own separate tradition that has its own history, that it's got its own distinct practices. And so that's what my mission was to try and figure out where the origins of this astronic, as I've termed it, tradition, where they come from. And I found that it is in the origins of religion itself, in the Stone Age. So yeah, it was a completely new topic to me. I'd never looked at that before, so it was brilliant, and I got 87 on it out of 100, so 70%. So I was really pleased with that. Couldn't ask for much better than that. So yeah, it's just about talking about it now, I suppose.
What are sort of the earliest links that you've found between some sort of star worship or constellation worship or sun worship? So we have to go back to the Paleolithic period, which is a huge period, which goes from sort of 2 million years ago to the last ice age. Yeah. I was looking at the upper Paleolithic. There are some sort of
possible origins in the middle Paleolithic, which is from memory before 50,000 BC. But I was looking mainly at 40,000 BC to about 10,000 BC for the majority of the dissertation. And there is actually quite a lot of evidence, really. And I obviously urge people to go and read what I've found, and I can give links to where if they can read the full dissertation. But beautiful ivory carvings, for example, of star patterns is one. The use of cup marks, they used to carve out sort of constellation patterns in rock faces. And then you also have the other dimension, which is rock art itself, depicting animals as stars, which is a really interesting idea. The idea that, for example, the Taurus constellation is derived from obviously the bull and
or ox,
or a similar ox, or similar type of animals. It depends where. That's another dimension of it. It depends where you're looking at as well, obviously. But there's brilliant areas, the places in France, some brilliant sites there. Sorry?
Chauvet and Lascaux,
yes,
is it?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So I had to collect all that together, collect all these specimens together, sort of like, in a way, determine, is this astronomically religious or not? And that was the hardest part, because obviously we're looking at this thousands of years in the future. How can we tell whether these things were done in a religious way? I used some really interesting people's work from sort of the 20th century. There was a lot of interest, it seems, around the 1950s in this sort of stuff. And all you need to do really is look at sort of the dedication of these people to watch the stars moving, and then you can imagine it, them sort of seeing where the stars are moving and sort of depicting that in these rock faces. Why would you do that? Why are you doing this? Why were they doing this? Sorry. And obviously I believe in my postulation is that they were worshipping these stars, that they were that they believed that these stars had influence on what was going on around them. The fact that, for example, they used to draw or act out the hunt before they actually went on the hunt, and there's a beautiful depiction in the Lascaux caves or Lascaux caves in France of like an ox or something, and you can see that they've depicted the stars on top of a depiction of the ox. So what's going on there? Do they believe that the stars are giving them this hunt? I think so. I sort of the evidence was coming in before me to think, they probably did think that the stars had an influence on what was going on. And of course, that is the origins of astrology.
Would it be
which is
Orion? Would it be Orion that they're depicting in the cosmic hunt?
Yeah, that was another common one. So obviously Orion would be there. With the arrow, bow and arrow, or whatever they were using to kill the beast, and then and that obviously depicted them. So you can understand that they've got sort of cosmology where they really believe that the stars are kind of them in a way. It's weird. It's sort of interesting. It's attributing what's going on up in the stars to what's going on down here. It's fascinating. Origins. That's where I sort of pin. Is my internet gone bad?
Oh, it's all right. It just goes. It's the old alchemical axiom, isn't it? As above, so below.
Yeah, and obviously those type and that was hard. What was really difficult was trying to decipher trying to unpack sort of the ancient stuff, which is all great, the Egyptian beliefs, the Babylonian beliefs, all these other great ancient civilizations from the prehistoric. And I think there's been a lot of overlap as to where these sayings, like you were just saying then, where they actually originate. It's really hard to sort of try and detangle all these different things, because astrology, as I've postulated, has its origins much further back than what perhaps we thought of before, in Paleolithic times. So yes, I mean, as well, I sort of postulated that astrology was the first religion, which is a bit of a bigger statement to make. So you'd have to read it to see if you were convinced by my evidence that it was the first religion. But, that's something for me to continue to theorize upon, isn't it? I kind of opened another can of worms, really, to, another lifetime of scholarship. So
what's your thoughts on, you described back in the Paleolithic, the cosmic hunt. What's your thoughts on the relationship to agriculture back then? Because as far as the sort of orthodoxy of archaeology and anthropology goes, agriculture didn't start till the end of the last ice age, 12,000 years ago. So what do you think about potential links before that?
Possibly. I think whenever they're dealing with such huge timescales like this, it is hard to obviously pinpoint. But I think we can pretty much say that, yes, the agriculture that we would understand, that we would relate to, probably did only sort of arise after the last ice age. But of course, the cosmic hunt, that's another huge part of the introduction of the dissertation. And really that was the beginning of it, because that was the first thing I came across, was this myth of the cosmic hunt, and the idea that when they told this story over and over again, it spread across continents, over thousands of years, which is amazing in and of itself. But also the fact that they believed that when they killed this beast, it was going up to the stars after it died, which is, or there's so many different variants as well of the story, but majority of them state that it either went up to the stars or is related to the stars in some way after it was wounded. So, that's the beginning of it, you could say. And obviously of this tradition, I mean, and obviously we can pinpoint that to before the 15,000 BC mark, because it got across the Bering Strait, of course, these ideas. And they wouldn't have, unless, someone skeptical might say, oh, well, they could have just had those ideas in America anyway. Well, yeah, they could have done, but I would think it'd be more logical that people have migrated across the Bering Strait and they've, found they've retold the story in a multitude of different ways, depending on their environments as well. The beast, whatever the beast is, whatever the creature is that they kill, it changes. It might be an ox in one place, or whatever other animal you can think of in another, depending on the environment. So yeah, that was a big part of sort of evidence, really, that there does exist a tradition there that is astronomical in theme, that is distinct from anything else, really. That's the key point, that it's sort of, it doesn't fit into Abrahamic, Dharmic or Taoic or any other type of religious tradition, because he's tried to do this, tried to say, well, there does exist a tradition, but it's much further back in the Paleolithic. So yeah,
there's plenty of people who would probably argue that the Abrahamic, Dharmic and Taoist traditions emanated from the astronomic mythology.
Yeah, I mean, that would be another dissertation, I think, to be able to gather all of the sort of evidence together to connect them all together, which is something I would like to do sometime later in the future. But yeah, definitely, there's clear links. I mean, there's a couple of appendices in the dissertation where I talk about astronomical influence in the Bible, for example. There is an instance where there's like a star worshipper sort of named in the Bible. This like old woman it was. I'll have to give you if you're interested, I'll give you the actual passage. But Jesus was there and he was sort of healing someone or something like that. And it just mentioned that this old lady was there who worshipped the stars, and so where did she come from? They must have existed somewhere, because she was around, of course, so in Jesus's time. So that's another connection. And of course, you've got the other famous examples of the Star of Bethlehem. I mean, you can look into that so deeply, maybe too much. You can look into that too much, I don't know, but that's a huge, you could say that the whole, I don't know, Christianity is based on that. If the Star of Bethlehem went there, what does that represent? And that's a really interesting conversation to have. But I did try and stay out of those conversations for this dissertation. I just wanted to really focus on prehistoric times and trying to get my specific theory grounded first before I go off and start making all loads of other statements and stuff. So, but it's all interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I sent you a dissertation to David Mathisen. I don't know if you're familiar with his work. I've got one of his books here.
Okay.
He's coming on the show in a few weeks. Theology for Life.
Right. Okay. Brilliant.
He's written about 9 or 10 books, and it's right up your alley.
Oh, yeah.
It's sort of looking at ancient star myths and then relating them to the sort of Abrahamic traditions and all the rest of it, and trying to draw comparisons. I'm sure you'd find it useful.
I would do. Yeah, I'll watch that, definitely. I'll tune into that. Yeah.
He enjoyed your work anyway. He sent me a message saying...
oh, that's good.
Yeah,
it's interesting to get feedback from different... Obviously, for me personally, to get my grade is, that's the main thing for me at the moment, to be able to progress on to my next stage of education. But yeah, to get some of the feedback that I've got from some people I've even mentioned in the actual dissertation have given me feedback. So that's just been amazing.
Cool.
Some people involved in rock art and some professors who are involved in that. So to get that type of feedback is just brilliant for me. It's sort of a validation, but obviously to really establish this tradition, though, is going to take a hell of a lot longer to do, isn't it? To have it accepted is going to be probably beyond my lifetime, and I'm only 22, so to have it really, and I understand that. So I it's the same with astronomism itself. I understand that I might be gone by the time anything
where to
gets
Cometan
recognised.
Where you going?
Well, who knows? Well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's the whole question. That's the big question. Yeah.
Just going back to the cosmic hunt a minute. Can I just go back to the cosmic?
Yeah.
You mentioned that it seems to pop up in North America, in Europe, in France, I'm sure it's probably in Australia, all over the world. It kind of suggests like a progenitor,
different
from which it was diffused around the world. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, and a progenitor of ideas, a progenitor of sort of religion itself, you could say. obviously I'd have to be able to give evidence for that and maybe do a dissertation on the cosmic hunt itself. It probably does deserve something written on it solely. But yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's, and in a way, I kind of also I found some other similar myths as well that involve stars and astronomy, astronomical observation.
Yeah, a lot of the Greek myths.
Didn't get chance. Yeah, I didn't get chance to really delve into them because obviously I had 15,000 words. So you can only do so much with that when you've got so many other things to do. But there are other myths out there as well that seem to have come from this cosmic hunt myth. They seem to have been, so totally separate stories, but sort of similar ideas, similar, but then also and some really wacky ones as well. You wonder where they've really come from. They seem, I don't know, like something out of a science fiction film. Some of them where they're sort of going up to space. Which is,
tell us more.
Well, I'm trying to think of what it was. It was something like this girl married a star or something. I'll have to send it to you, but she like, the myth was that she married this star and she sort of floated up into space in up to the star, and then sort of came back down again afterwards for some reason. But it was very interesting to read, very bizarre, but it just makes you wonder, doesn't it, where do they all come from? And I think you're right, it probably did become inspired by the cosmic hunt, which was itself inspired by what the most important thing was at that time, which was feeding themselves, and that sort of basic, that's what I kind of love about it, actually, sort of the very basicness of it. This is all based not on complex theology. It's not based in sort of, because civilizations hadn't developed by then. So it's all very basic. It's all very, worshipping the stars because the stars, they believe that the stars were giving them the ability to, as you were saying before, agriculture. They were using the stars, the movements of the stars to plant the crops and harvest the crops.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of basic, but it's also, you can see where other religions have come from. You really can see it when you look at it, this very basic star.
Well, that seems to be like the second evolution. So it seems to me like the cosmic hunt is your first evolution for hunter-gatherers who are worshipping, say, Orion to have strength for the hunt the next day so that they feed the families. And then once you get to the end of the Ice Age and we start seeing signs of more complex astronomical observations, which are required for agriculture, then it really takes on a life of its own. You have agriculture gives you the freedom to have specialization in skills and a priestly class and stonemasons and all the rest of it. And it's the reason why we have a civilization to start with.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think obviously, and obviously things develop from there. But obviously like I was saying before, astrology, obviously you can see where that came from. It's very interesting. It's sort of, for me, when I'd completed it, it all kind of made sense to me then, because I think there was something that wasn't right to me. There was something that was missing before I did this, for me personally, to sort of the history of religion and where it all came from. And after doing this, I feel a lot more sort of, I can understand it a lot more now. I sort of have this sort of timeline in my head now of, okay, this was happening then, this was happening then, and that's how it developed on. Whereas if you are thinking from in the context of a particular religion, like Christianity, obviously they may think back to Moses and Abraham at the earliest, but they don't even consider anything before that. And so, in schools and things like that, they're not teaching this kind of stuff, because, well, it doesn't matter to them, because only thing that matters is when Jesus came, of course. So it's interesting to have kind of a proper, full perspective on everything rather than just from within a particular religious framework, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's the Abrahamic tradition is self-limiting in that respect, because we have a historic timeline that only goes back so far.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that was another interesting thing, was that the feedback that I'm starting to get now is it's mixed, because obviously by basing some of these, the largest religions in the world on or tracing their lineage back to some of these pagan ideas and practices is not something that obviously these religions would like to admit, So but they can't they can't really argue with the evidence that has been presented.
No, it's
and one of them is often claims to be the oldest religion in the world, which to me is a little bit of a fallacy, really. But they get away with it, and it's there, and it's quite widespread actually in scholarship. But obviously, with what I'm presenting, I'm sort of flipping the table on that theory and trying to bring it more to the astronomical, because that's what I fight for. Anything astronomical based, that's what I believe in. That's what I want to fight for. So it's a battleground. It really is, and there's gatekeepers. I've seen that already. People who maybe don't want to talk about this type of stuff. People who don't want to consider that there might be a tradition of religion that precedes the Abrahamic tradition. It's uncomfortable for some people. They don't want to consider that. It's you sort of undermining the sort of legitimacy of their beliefs, aren't you? So you are going into sort of dangerous territory in some ways, but that's the nature of it.
The new kid on the block, if it becomes successful, usually ends up sort of persecuting the former ones. If you look back through history, or up until the modern day, look at what ISIS did with the Yazidis.
Yeah.
If you're either with us or you're against us, so you can understand some trepidation, can't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can understand.
I'm not saying that you're going to start like a war against the
No, I don't think so. Maybe an intellectual war. Definitely an intellectual one, which is fine. That's. I like to have an intellectual war, because it's you pushing ideas together, and which one wins. That's good, but not a physical war. No. Anyway,
I'd like to ask you something a bit more broadly about astronism.
Okay, yeah.
Do you feel there is a relationship, either physical or metaphysical, between us as individual sentient beings and the cosmos at large?
Yes, I think definitely. I think there is, and this is sort of that's a brilliant question to sort of go into this idea that I mentioned at the beginning called Astronality, which I've coined to refer to this. I would say it's an emotion, which is quite a statement, because maybe the psychologists might differ with me on that, because you're going into sort of psychology there when you start talking about emotions and feelings and things like that. But I am going to postulate that it is one. Spiritual, physical, emotional connection to the astronomical world. And what I found was that was the basis of where this tradition has come from. So when we're talking about astrology, so imagine if, 40,000 years ago, you've got this sort of early human sort of looking up at the stars and sort of maybe worshipping the stars. But what is the foundational emotion behind that? What is the emotion behind that? What is the psychology behind that? And it's really interesting when you start to think about it in that way, because you're sort of trying to get into their mind in a way about how and why they began to do the practices and beliefs that they did. And I believe it's based on an emotion that relates to what you've just said, is that there is a connection between individuals and the astronomical world, and that is what has brought about these beliefs. So we sort of have to separate what I call astronality as an emotion from beliefs like worship. But I believe that's what it's based on, right. And that's how it's influenced astronism in the present. Now astronism is, and this is probably the biggest difference from when I last spoke to you, is based on this idea of astronality, this idea of sort of awakening this emotion inside you. Everyone has that capacity. You can look up to the star and wonder, and that's sort of there. That's kind of what it is. But I sort of want to carve out something a bit more distinct, as a distinct emotion that people feel when they look up to the stars or when they think about the cosmos. So, of course, that is something I need to probably do another dissertation on. But I do think that there is sort of.
Do you think
that
interconnecting
force away, but
force.
I think it is more,
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking.
Is the internet bad again?
It's all right.
I just said again. Yeah.
I covered for you. Interconnecting force. I think even.
All right. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Even on a purely physical level, we feel connected to the Earth. We need the oxygen in the atmosphere to survive. If you go like one step out to the moon, I think there's definitely physical connection between us and the moon.
Yeah.
The tides
Definitely.
and I don't know if it's true about menstruation and whatnot, but I've heard that talked about. And then you go to
That's interesting, yeah.
The sun. I mean, we feel the sun, and it gives us vitamin D. We can't survive without vitamin D. I wonder if there's another level, like beyond our solar system, like a physical connection. Is that even possible?
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone. He's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think. Am I here?
Yeah, you're there. Go on.
I can still hear you. Yeah. I think there definitely is. I think, and obviously, we will discover that as we start to venture beyond the Earth. We will discover these other. It's kind of like a dependency kind of religion. It comes from like dependency. We depend on the sun, we depend on the Earth, we depend on the moon, which I kind of like actually. So it's not sort of. It's nature religion, isn't it? It's religion of nature, and so obviously that's very different from the other like Abrahamic traditions, of course. But yeah, I definitely think as we go out into the solar system and beyond, that idea is only going to develop more, and there'll be more examples of that as we keep going. I think. For an astronist person, I think the goal, and certainly my goal, is to kind of cultivate that sort of connection, if you will, sort of here and now in a way. Try and thinking on that astronomical scale, not just thinking about human, not just thinking about the Earth, but thinking about that a cosmos scale, which is obviously difficult to do. It's not easy to think so far beyond yourself. And a lot of people don't like to do that. I found that, they don't want to think about that. I think that's a lot of reason why Christianity and some of these, what I call human-centric or anthropocentric religions, that's why they do so well, because it's easier to think about, it's easier to connect yourself to other humans, isn't it, than to something that's far away, you know, the stars. Well, they're millions of miles away. Why do we need to connect ourselves to that? Why do we need to sort of, you know, sort of depend on those? But we do anyway, but I believe that as an astronist person, that should be our goal, really, to cultivate that emotion.
It's a question.
It's a
question of scale, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and you can sort of categorize religions according to that scale. I mean, I was talking to a guy about 2 weeks ago, and he's a futurist, so he's obviously not really here with us. He's sort of thousands of years in the future in his mind. You know, he can think, he's brilliant. He can think, even for me, it was sort of or for anyone, it would be, you know, the things he was talking about, as in the scientific advancements that are possible in the future, and you know, being able to resurrect people from the dead. That's another belief he has, that he thinks that we'll be able to do through science and technology at some point in the future. You know, that's sort of a scale beyond astronism, I would say, you know, and I kind of had this idea of, you know, astronism might be the bridge between these earth-centric religions and some of these more more sort of futuristic ones. Maybe it's more of a bridge, you know, between those two extremes, you know. So it is a scale. There is a scale, and you can categorize religions according to that. And it sort of exposes them in a way, which might upset some people, but I mean, it doesn't. You could look at it as though they're undermining them. You know, with Christianity being so geocentric, so focusing on the earth. You know, the earth was made for humans. You know, it's all about not just the earth, but specific places on the earth. That's such a small scale, isn't it? But does that undermine the religion? I don't know. We'd have to explore that as another idea. You know, does the fact that it is a small scale undermine it? I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. Would you class astronism as monotheistic? It talks about the force.
Yeah, I know what you're saying there. No, because I don't think that has anything to do with sort of like a creator God. Not to say that astronomy doesn't have a creator God. It sort of, to some extent, it does. The theology continues to be developed for astronism. I kind of don't like to sort of put it into a box, really, at this stage. I think I just want to kind of explore it more. But yeah, I wouldn't say it is monotheistic. But you could interpret it as that. You could interpret it as that. If you're thinking about the force or a force, you know, and that being sort of like a singularity in a way, you could interpret it as that being like a oneness. And then we're getting deep into philosophy there, because then you're getting into, is it a dualistic universe or a sort of like a universe based on oneness, essentially, which is interesting.
Sounds like there could be a parallel to Gnosticism there, in that, you know, we're all the theology of, we're all sort of tiny points of light, 1,000 points of light of the divine spark, trying to reunite with the whole in the next place, wherever that may be.
Wherever that is, yeah. I think there's definitely influences there. To be honest, I've not really looked into Gnosticism too much. I've come across it, of course, but I didn't really want it to sort of cloud what I was doing for this dissertation in a way, which it can do, because it's actually a very powerful set of ideas, and they're very useful, and they're very possibly very valid. But I kind of just wanted to keep it to, for example, I wouldn't consider Gnosticism as part of the Astronic tradition, if you will. At this stage, I wouldn't consider that to be part of it. Possibly in the future, it might be. It's like the topic of astrology. That was something that a few people have had an issue with. At the moment, I've classified astrology as part of this sort of tradition that I'm talking about. Some have had an issue with that, because for that to be the case, it would have to be a religion. Some people just prefer to call it a pseudoscience and have done with it. I do think that the Astronic tradition, the one that I've postulated, I do think it gives a home to astrology. I think astrology has sort of been in this sort of weird place for the last 300 years, where it's sort of slipped between the gaps of religion and science, and has sort of found itself sort of like a fad, really, isn't it? In sort of magazines and sort of newspapers and stuff. So I kind of wanted to give a home to it in a way, and I do think it does definitely have a home in the Astronic tradition. So that would make astrology, like a cousin to astronism, if you will. But of course, you've got to distinguish between those two. Astronism isn't astrology, which is always that's the first thing that everyone asks me is it just astrology? And it's no, it's not. It's really, really not. They're very, very different things. I'm sure even in 50 years' time, people will still be saying, well, is it not just astrology? No.
Yeah, astrology's sort of lost its footing since the Abrahamic religions took over, because like you mentioned, Babylonia, the Babylonian wise men were known for the astrology. That was the main
and I mean, really, it did continue, I would say, until maybe the 17th century. It was still throughout the medieval times. It was still, widely believed, because they didn't know any better, and they didn't really know much else about the universe, did they, at that stage, and how it worked. So yeah, I would say probably for the last 300 years, it's seen a huge, obviously, decline, but also it still exists. There's still a widespread network of people who are involved in astrology. I think the main thing, though, is the main issue that people and some academics have had is that, it shouldn't really be classic. It shouldn't be given like a platform, which I can understand. They don't want to give it, legitimacy, which you could say that for any religion, though, couldn't you? I at the moment, that's my position.
At the moment,
it seems to me that astrology is, putting into practice what we talked about earlier about the relationship between us as individuals and the stars. I mean, they narrow it down to constellations and conjunctions and the sun and the moon and everything else. But it seems to me that's what it's doing. It's trying to provide a link or a theology between us and the stars. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. But
and I encourage them to continue to do that. I obviously, part of creating these different religious traditions is to understand, kind of who is on your wavelength in a way. Obviously, the
Abrahamic religions.
They share monotheism as a belief, so they're kind of on the same wavelength. Astronism and
just say it.
Star worship,
sorry, Cometan. Just say again.
The same.
Just say again from the Abrahamic religion, because you just broke up there. What were you saying?
Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah, I was just saying about how obviously Abrahamic religions are grouped together for a reason. They share this monotheistic. Astronism's the same with astrology. That they're on the same wavelength.
Right.
We think that outer space is the central thing. Put it that way. That's the underlying principle, which you don't see in other traditions. So I think it's fair to group them together.
What about ancient Egypt theology? Does that have some parallels with Astronism?
I wouldn't say so, no, but it definitely it is definitely part of the Astronic tradition. Obviously, astrology was going on then, and also star worship was taking place there, and other forms of worship, moon worship, sun worship, and all these different things, and other different practices as well. But no, not at this stage. I think Astronism and the beliefs that are part of Astronism are definitely a product of contemporary times.
Right.
We think about galaxies at this stage. You can see the progression, though. You can see, like, if you think maybe if ancient Egyptians knew about galaxies and black holes and, all these other different astronomical phenomena, maybe they would have worshipped them as well. So you can see the progression that has taken place. So there's definitely a shared lineage there. Yeah. And definitely Astronism wouldn't exist if these other ones hadn't already existed, I don't think. But I wouldn't say there's any sort of direct comparison, just because, generally we wouldn't really worship the sun in Astronism, and we wouldn't really worship the moon either. The stars might be a different story. I did an article a couple of weeks ago now saying why astrology, star worship, might be sort of logical and moral, which is quite interesting. Got quite a lot of interest, of course. And I was just sort of saying, like, the fact that obviously a theory about where we've come from as humans is that we came from the stars, that we are made up of hydrogen and sort of all these other chemicals, and this idea of the Panspermia theory, that I can't remember who came up with that now, but
Chandra
that is a theory that was
Wickramasinghe.
Yeah,
I believe.
I mean, I can't remember his name and I can't pronounce it. Yeah. But it's to do with that, isn't it? It's does that therefore make it logical that we worship the stars then? If that's where we came from. So that was the basic thing of the article, was just kind of like a fun article, really, just to say maybe that could be sort of like a rationale behind star worship if people wanted to engage in that. Well, we did come from the stars, so if you want to worship where we came from, go for it.
It's increasing sophistication in science and scientific discoveries that are influencing where you take your belief system from. Mm-hmm. Like, because interesting, the Egyptians didn't know about panspermia, did they? So if you can, it sounds like you're sort of incorporating the latest science and leaving
definitely that. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I mean, obviously, science and religion have been at odds, but I think we should make a distinction there, and we should say science and Abrahamic religions have been at odds. I don't think, some of these other, like, for example, the Astronic tradition, I don't think it's at odds with science at all. I think that it's developed with science. I think that, and obviously Astronism, I believe, is sort of the next. And there are other movements, and well, I'm not just saying that mine's the only one that exists. There are others that have existed, and we can maybe talk about those in a little bit later on if we've got time. But it's a progression, and you can see that with the new scientific theories that are coming along. They are producing like byproducts, new beliefs, new practices. new ideas. As we find more new planets or whatever you wish to call, whatever astronomical object you wish to focus on, there will be new beliefs that come from that. And definitely as we go into space ourselves, as we begin to explore space properly ourselves, there's bound to be, I was thinking that the other day. I was thinking, obviously it might be the far future, but imagine when they're on that spaceship and they're just sort of going past Jupiter or something. There's going to be bound to be new ideas, new beliefs, new poetry, new writings that are going to come from, space exploration, new art, new music. So that will all feed into religion, of course, or religion will feed into that. So I think it's obviously we're looking into the far future there, but you can see where it's heading, can't you? And I think science is sort of sort of the basis of that. Science will help us get there. Science and technology will help realize some of these beliefs, will help sort of either discredit some or realize some.
Yeah.
Is it all right? Can you hear?
Yeah, no, it's
me?
all right. It's okay. It seems like that the big game changer will be when if we find.
Hello.
Can you hear us, Cometan? Is he gone? He's frozen.
Again.
He's sort of dropping in and out. It's just a bad connection, I think. So, I was just saying, I don't know if you can hear us, but it seems like the big...
Just got it for now. Just one sec.
Oh, right.
I think it's just my cat.
The cat?
I can now.
All right, you can. I was just saying the big game changer would be if we find life elsewhere in the solar system, wouldn't it?
Back again.
You back? Oh. Can you hear us, Cometan?
Sorry, just say it again. I'm back now. Sorry.
I was just saying, like the big.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
I was just saying the big.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm back.
I was just saying, if you'll let me finish.
Oh, it's awful, isn't it? I can't wait to be back. It'd be great to come back again.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
It's awful.
We'll fix it in the edit. I was just saying that the big game changer would be
okay, I'll need to.
if we find life elsewhere in the solar system.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't believe that there's going to be intelligent life on Mars to our extent, but I think there could be, small microorganisms that exist there, or possibly even remnants of other. I mean, they were saying, they think that Mars was more like Earth, millions and billions of years ago. So, did anything develop there? We don't know. Could Earth end up like Mars maybe one day? That is a possibility, isn't it? So, but yes, finding intelligent life obviously will be, sort of like a huge milestone in a way. I'll probably have to think of a word up for what that might, what that might mean, what the great something maybe, or I don't know. This sort of, it will be. It'll be like a revelation, if it's found, it will be world changing, wouldn't it? It really would. It would be world changing. It would be a huge turning point for everyone, for everything. And obviously, hopefully, it might be in our lifetime if we can get out there quick enough.
Hopefully, it'll bring us together as well. There's nothing like bringing people together than a common enemy.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. And I think obviously it's interesting to think about what might happen in the world of religion. when that eventually comes.
Yeah, it's difficult to explain that one, isn't it?
Yeah, will
some of them.
Will the Catholic Church and other institutions accept it? Will they try and change their beliefs to suit it? They're kind of not really in a position to do that because, their theology is, it's geocentric, it's human centric, it's Jesus came here, he didn't go anywhere else unless
we'll just find some really, really old books that have never been seen before. We'll dig up some old,
that'll be interesting. Yeah.
And indoctrinate.
Yeah, let's see what happens with that. That'll be interesting. I don't know. I mean, they might. I don't know. I won't want to say. I mean, would they just say? I don't think they could ever. What a crisis that would be. Bloody hell.
I suppose it depends a lot on how sophisticated the life is. I think maybe they could argue it if it was just microbes or virus or bacteria or something. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah. But even if it was animals, even if it was sort of, okay, maybe they weren't intelligent, but evolution, they could be. They could turn intelligent. So even if we found animals, I think you'd have to take the logical sort of step to say, well, they could evolve like we did. So there's no way out of it. There's no explanation.
They got around. They got around the dinosaurs.
Well, that's another interesting thing.
So I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know what they say about that. What did they say about the dinosaurs? I've not looked into that. Did they say anything?
I think they probably just brush it under a carpet, a very big carpet.
Well, yeah, it's like what I've, put forward. It's they won't like that, will they? Because it's, I'm basing a lot of what they believe on prior star worship and astrology and other forms of astronomical religion. So, they won't like that. And then it becomes political, doesn't it? That's when politics come into it, and that's when sort of academia and scholarship and science sort of suffer. They suffer, and you've seen that through history with Nicolaus Copernicus.
Yeah,
he won out in the end, but he didn't see his
theory accepted
of the Earth revolve around the sun. See it, he didn't see that theory become established, and in the way that he might have wanted to see it.
Yeah.
So, it's that's when politics ruins things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Politics of religion, you could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think maybe, I think today is a different day though, isn't it? I mean, the Catholic Church back then pretty much ruled kind of the world at that stage. Yep. It ruled the majority of Europe, and the amount of wealth and power that they had was kind of unbelievable. So obviously today a theory like mine might be able to be spread quicker, in a secular world, in a world that isn't so dominated by one religion anymore. But it was interesting. I was, just as like a side note, I was thinking the other day about, someone was talking to me about like the Roman Empire and how, this is like totally off topic, but how the Roman Empire sort of fell, and then like the Catholic Church was sort of left really with sort of this sort of empire that was collapsed, and then I don't know, they're the only ones to kind of take over. It was the way the person put it across to me, I'd never thought about that before. The priests were just left with this sort of, I don't know, all the Caesar and all those guys sort of obviously died out and everything, and then the church was just like, we're the only ones who have any organization and
yeah, and
no.
you get
continue civilization going, I suppose.
You get
Who knows where we'd be without that? I don't know.
Like the integration of Charlemagne at 800 AD and him becoming the Pope and the military head as well.
Yeah.
And she become the head of the theology and the military and the state. It's a whole lot of power in...
Yes. And obviously, you know, and I was thinking about that as well with where it concerns Astronism, obviously, you know, this is obviously a new religious movement of sorts. And I found it interesting to sort of compare sort of the world that Astronism is sort of existing in and sort of has been founded in, and sort of the world that, for example, another religion founded in, Christianity, for example, what different worlds, you know, how different the world is now to sort of 2,000 years ago, and what effect that will have on maybe how Astronism develops or how the astronic tradition is accepted. You know, we live in a world now where, you know, I can speak to someone in China if I want to, or USA. So
I'm just thinking, you just got me thinking, you know, the way the Romans crucified the Christians. I wonder if the modern astronomic persecution, they probably just catapult you into space.
Yeah, see how you do up there. Yeah, maybe that would be like another form of.
Fortunately, I don't think there's any danger if you're being persecuted. But
yeah, maybe not.
What's coming up for you, Cometan? What have you got planned for the future?
Well, it's interesting. I don't sort of. I don't sit around for long. I have to keep going and intellectually. So I've just obviously finished my dissertation. Just got the grade back for that last month, and then I'm working on my PhD proposal now. Cool. But moving into something totally different. I'm going into religious freedom and freedom of religion, and it's sort of like a whole other area that I've not looked at yet. Specifically, I'm looking at the recognition of religions around the world and how systems of recognition, like the one in China, for example, where they might recognize their own Catholic Church, but they don't recognize the Catholic Church in Rome or the authority of the Pope or anything like that. So I'm looking at how sort of governments might use recognition as a way to sort of suppress sort of religious belief and sort of philosophical movements as well. So that's going to be the next 3 years for me now.
Yeah, you've plenty to go out. You've plenty to go out there. Repressing religious freedoms. I said you've plenty to go out there.
Oh well, yeah. There's a whole it's a whole area of scholarship, and like I said, it's an area that I've not really ventured into. There's a whole other group of people who are involved in that that don't know me yet, and that I don't really know them. So getting to know them is I've started to get to know them, and it's been really great. And obviously, I'm going to be doing interviews for my PhD, and trying to get my theory proven. And I'm excited. So
Cool.
I'm working on the proposal at the moment, and then hopefully get that submitted by the end of this month, and then start in January. So yeah, that's going to be probably the next thing I'll come and talk to you about.
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds exciting. Oh yeah, we'll have you back anytime you want. I think it's been great. It's coming up to time now, so we'll
goes
have
fast.
to. I know it does, doesn't it?
Always goes fast.
Thanks for coming and talking to us again, Cometan. It's been good fun.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
We'll make sure we put all the relevant links in the episode notes. If anyone wants to follow Cometan, all the social media stuff and the website will be there, and your dissertation.
Yeah, brilliant.
We'll post all that stuff there. So yeah, best of luck with the proposal for the PhD.
Thank you.
Just hang on the line for us while we play ourselves out.
Yeah, of course.
All right. See you in a flash, eavesdroppers.
What the fresh hell is this?
Right then, we're back.
The dwarf, the cripple, and the mother of madness.
That was our chat with Cometan, founder of Astronism.
Yeah, or Brandon Taylor.
Ah.
Brandon Taylorian.
His pseudonym.
Yeah, exciting stuff. I've not had a chance to read his, what do you call it? Dissertation?
Omnidoxy.
No, dissertation.
Dissertation, yeah. I read the abstract.
Thankfully, a little bit shorter than the Omnidoxy. That's 1 million words. So it's only 15,000, his dissertation. So he probably did that in like half an hour.
Yeah, cool.
I wonder what the most used word in the Omnidoxy is. Could you feed it into one of those word cloud things?
Would it not melt?
It's there.
Would it not melt the computer? Melt the internet or something?
Maybe.
Too much data. You'd need Lieutenant Commander data to process it, I think.
You would.
Right.
You would.
Housekeeping. Oh. Housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Oh, iTunes reviews we need for the old housekeeping. You need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've seen some people coming over. We need more. Please subscribe to the YouTube videos. This will be going up next Friday, or this Friday if you're listening now. Email us at theamishinquisition@gmail.com. I got an interesting message from Tamburista 2020 this week.
What does that person, that gender neutral person?
Tamburista is a drummer.
Right.
I am downloading the audio. He's commenting on the YouTube video with Adam Stokes from last week. I'm downloading the audio on this one from YouTube to listen over the weekend. Netflix should do an Errol Morris type doc on this called Cooked by the Nephilim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bitch.
That was Friday, I think, and then I have a follow-up message. Where is it?
Is it just changed my mind? Should be Amazon Prime.
I'll have you lot know that as a result of listening to this podcast tonight, I was not able to gain access to my girlfriend's sacred mounds. All the talk of extra arms, absorbed chimeral twins, and spoiled ovaries kind of got her out of the mood. Cheers from Blue Balls, USA.
Oh, can only apologise.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Tamburista. You got to love drummers, haven't you? They're just a breed of their own.
Yeah, like manual labourers.
Yeah. We got another message from the chairman of the Andy Shatkin fan club. Amy from Insta, she enjoyed the last episode. I believe we played some Shatkin for her.
Some classic Shatkin.
Yeah, what about this?
I think you're hitting the point, Phil, that and it really bothers me. Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
That was just for you, Amy.
Have you cut that together?
Little special compilation just for Amy.
I think you're hitting the point, Phil, that and it really bothers me. Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
I fucking love Andrew Shatkin. He's our hero. Got a birthday shout out this week. Mark Humphrey was 38 on Wednesday.
Oh, I remember it.
Comes.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Mark. Oh, you're old like us. The same age.
Yeah. Well, it's not old like me. It's old like you, guys.
That's right, yeah. You're several months younger. I forgot.
Shows.
We had some bad news this week. Previous guest, Bolt Upright, was admitted to hospital.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the salt problem. But the good news is he's out. He got out yesterday.
Right.
A what problem did you say then?
Salt. Low salt.
How does that happen?
Hyponatremia.
It was.
Is that from drinking too much water or beer?
There's, I think, medication can contribute as well.
Right. Okay.
So he's back home now, thank God, because it's his birthday on Wednesday. So
good.
Happy birthday for Wednesday, Bolt.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Still waiting for that quiz.
Still waiting for the quiz.
Oh yeah.
Still waiting for that quiz, Bolt. You know, it's only been.
It's going to be epic.
Yeah.
Epic when it arrives.
Has he had a poo?
Yes, he has. Yeah.
Okay, good.
I think he's.
I was concerned about that.
So yeah, get in contact. Send us messages. Send us emails. Send us links, clips, videos, all the rest of it. You know what the number one way of becoming a producer is.
The number one.
I know what that is.
Cough up.
Is it some of these? A coin.
A blurred item.
A hearing aid battery.
Toss a coin to your witcher, oh valley of plenty, oh valley of plenty.
I think you're hitting the point, Phil, that it really bothers me. Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
Oh, yes, we need monetary donations via PayPal on the website. Click on the How Do You Become a Producer tab. All the details are there. Right, let's say thank you to the producers for episode 153. We have Nomi Nosnodge, Gav Scott, Tambarista 2020, and Ami from Insta. You are so amazing in your love for us.
They are. Yeah. So amazing in their love.
I've been coming to terms with the fact that
I'm a Marxist.
Because I'm literally a communist.
The dwarf, the
currant,
the
grape, the feces,
the cripple, and the mother of
Cunt! From hell.
Is that Megabix?
Yep, thank you. Thanks for another week. Keep it coming. Keep helping us do this thing that we do. Okay, well, shall we have some COVID news? I suppose there is some.
There's a bone or two.
There's a bone or what?
So there's one of two. Two of one. One or two.
COVID-19 news.
Put on your fucking muzzle if you go to the shop.
The magic vaccine.
A big fat shot in the ass.
From hell.
Oh! You know, it's just, super painful.
Like a judgment day and terminating.
More lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
2 million people have to die.
This is such a crock of shit.
This is Smelly Pickering!
Who the fuck's that?
Yeah, me!
Yeah, we've got some COVID news, fellas. You're right there, boys. Right there, Ben. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad, was it? No need to cry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I've got a clip from We Are the Masks YouTube channel because, there's been a lot of changes in the rules, the COVID rules, the rule of 6. You can't do this, you can't do that. And it's brought a lot of confusion. So I thought I found a nice clip here from, what's it called? We Are the Monks YouTube channel.
Well, it's lovely to be out here in this pub garden in the northeast. And of course, the new coronavirus restrictions come into force today. But what I want to know is, am I allowed to meet in this pub garden with a group of 6 people? I'm not sure. I wonder who could clarify whether I can or I can't for me. I know. How about the skills minister, Gillian Keegan? Can you clarify for me whether I can meet in the northeast in a pub garden with 6 people?
No, I'm sorry, I can't clarify that.
Oh, so you can't?
I mean, I know in the rest of the country, generally, you can, meet in a pub.
But I'm not in other parts of the country. I'm in the northeast.
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't answer that question. I'm sure there are many people who could.
Yeah, maybe someone else could help me clarify this. Oh, I know. How about the Prime Minister? I bet he can clarify it.
And in the northeast and other areas where extra tight measures had been brought in, you should follow the guidance of local authorities. But it's 6 in a home or 6 in hospitality. But as I understand it, not 6 outside.
Oh. Maybe not.
No, I'm sorry, I can't clarify that. I mean, I know in the rest of the country, generally, you can, meet in a pub and you can book a table, and the restrictions are indoors in terms of rules. No, I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm sure they can find out the answer to that question. I just don't have the details of those 7 areas.
You can't give us the answer to that. I mean, how do you expect people to keep up to date with the latest rules when even you as a government minister can't answer that question?
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't answer that question. I'm sure there are many people who could. I don't represent the North East.
It's sending into forest, isn't it?
Yeah. Nobody knows. I think that this is the thing, isn't it, that they keep getting panned for, is there's no single kind of voice telling us, this is what you need to do. And it's all very differentiated now, isn't it, to these local lockdowns and stuff, so nobody doesn't have a clue really, do they?
Yeah, I wonder if other countries are doing it the same as badly as this.
Well, this is I think we always compare ourselves badly to other countries, don't we?
We always compare badly to other countries.
I think we compare ourselves badly.
Right.
I think as part of talking ourselves down. But I don't know. Other countries, might be differently. The same. I don't know. Are they doing local lockdown? Oh, they do in Spain, don't they? Like Madrid and Catalonia got locked down, didn't it?
France as well, I think, are doing locals. Australia, obviously.
Yeah.
Their locals are bigger than our entire country, I think. Geographically.
I don't know. I think the other thing is like antipathy as well, isn't it? Like kind of, oh, well, whatever. Nobody's listening anymore, I don't think, properly.
Problem is, if government ministers can't even explain the rules, there is a problem with the rules.
Yeah, I suppose.
But there are no rules.
The rules are there's no rules.
I think
if you can't confirm them.
I think if you're in the SNP, I don't think there's any rules.
Oh yeah,
about that woman.
Yeah, just jump on public transport, whatever.
That was a bit
Margaret Ferrier,
something like that. Yeah. Goodbye, Margaret.
Yeah. Not been sacked yet.
No, she's been asked. Nicolaus Sturgeon said that she should stand down.
Yeah.
So why can't they sack her? Is it because it's like working for the NHS or the government that you just can't? You have to like murder someone before you're sacked.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I don't know. You're invited to fall on your sword.
Yeah, and then the other thing, does that mean as well you get to keep your pension if you resign?
Oh, she'll get a pension anyway. Yeah,
even if she's sacked.
Oh yeah, I would have thought so.
Do you think?
Well, maybe not if she's sacked. Maybe that's why they're trying to push her before. Trying to get her to jump before she's pushed. I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's just a stupid thing to do.
Job. Yeah, I don't know what you're thinking.
It's a massive pension, obviously.
As well. Yeah, and
one term.
What?
You get it for one term. You don't have to do one term in Parliament. You get it. You get the full pension for life, as far as I know.
Cool.
Yeah. I might go for it.
How much is the pension worth?
Oh, it's a lot. It's a big fat fucker.
Like more than 30 grand?
Oh yeah.
50?
I don't know. I'm guessing. I've no idea really. It might be 10 grand. I don't know. Anyway. Do you want to? I'll move on. I've only got a couple of COVID clips because it's getting fatiguing. But Carol Sikora, the oncologist who we've played before, who's a bit of a guy sort of speaking out about the negative effects of the lockdowns. He was on Talk Radio this week, so I've got a little clip of him.
Or it would be over optimistic to imagine we'll have any kind of vaccine for at least a year. So in which case, what is the government's end game with all this? And even a vaccine, everybody keeps saying, well, once we get the vaccine, then it's all over. We've beaten coronavirus. I think it's unlikely that even a vaccine will beat it. This government has a policy, apparently, to completely obliterate and eradicate coronavirus. I don't think that's possible. So what on earth do you think Boris, Matt, and the cabinet's end game is?
That is the problem. The strategy is not correct. Zero COVID is unachievable, just like zero flu, zero common cold. We live with these things. The viruses live with us. They're quite relatively harmless. People die of the flu every year, as we know, and we accept that. We've got to accept the fact that the coronavirus, this virus, has caused total disruption, a lot of deaths, but, we have to learn to live with it. And I'm afraid the idea that somehow we're going to wake up with a vaccine, a magic vaccine.
We don't have
an effective vaccine for the flu. We don't have an effective vaccine for the common cold. And even for SARS, which is just the sister of this virus, we still, after 17 years, don't have a vaccine. So we've got to learn to live with it in a better way. And I'm afraid we're seeing reflex reactions going on instead of a well thought out strategy.
I think a kind of a collective insanity seems to have gripped this government.
I think he makes a good point about the zero COVID policy.
Yeah, impossible.
Yeah.
It seems to be. I thought it was interesting. He said, we don't have an effective virus for the flu.
It's vaccine for the flu.
Sorry, effective vaccine for the flu.
Well, there's not a one shot kills all. You need because of the nature of the flu and the way it mutates each year, and there's different prevalent strains around the globe, you have to have a different vaccine for each hemisphere each year. But no, it's not 100% effective anyway. No vaccine is.
Oh, but the thing is,
I think he was a bit harsh when he said about the SARS, the original SARS, 17 years ago, we don't have a vaccine for it. The reason for that is no one's researching for a vaccine for that because it went away. So there's no point in putting any money in a vaccine program.
We lived with it.
Well, it went away. Yeah. So I mean, how do you determine went away? Because I suppose you could argue it's back now if this is a mutated version of it.
I mean, we almost eradicated polio through vaccination. I think his point is that because of these airborne viruses, so the trickiest customers, that even with a really good vaccine, you're still never going to eradicate this. So what are our lockdowns, which are destroying people's lives and livelihoods and killing people through secondary means, are buying time for a vaccine, which might not be very effective and might be in 12 months before it's massively, widely available. I think I'm kind of with him on it, really.
Yeah, can't live with it, can't live without it. No. Something like that.
The thing is, isn't it, is whether you stop the lockdowns and the restrictions and what that does. Like we always say, doesn't it, to the admissions to hospital and all the rest of it, whether they'd stay low or not this time, I suppose. That's the other thing, isn't it? But then I suppose going forward, then if there's always going to be X amount of people in hospital with this, then what do you do?
Get more hospitals?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, it'll just take the place of the flu. There's only so many old people who can die every year. So instead of dying from the flu, they'll die of this. Sorry to sound if it sounds callous, but this is what it comes down to. But people who are 80 die. They don't live forever. something kills people, right? Doesn't it?
Oh.
What's it going to be?
My mum's 80 next year.
Well, the average age of COVID fatalities is 82, isn't it?
She's got 2 more years.
Yeah, but I mean,
I don't know.
It's like I think we're giving ourselves sort of expectations that we can protect people forever. Maybe we're coming to the limit of how much we can increase longevity.
I think that I think we've come to that anyway, haven't we? Because like people are quite a lot of people when they get to that age are pretty knackered. Like I said before, I think my mum's had enough. Shoulder's always sore now, as well as her knee. You know, she has a decent life, I think. But I think the thing is I suppose it comes down to that, doesn't it? Do you stop everything else to potentially save the lives of people that wouldn't necessarily be around much longer anyway, basically?
Well, if you made the calculation based on life years lost, you wouldn't do lockdowns and things. Because I
wonder how it would have been treated differently if it was a disease of young people and it was like the 20s and 30s of us who were impacted most. I don't know if they'd have done anything different, because they've gone almost like maximum effect on this set of lockdowns and things. I don't think they could do anything different.
I think the other thing, I don't know if it would have been even harsher because of you think about someone in the 20s, how much tax that person produces.
Yeah.
So if you lose a big chunk of your 20-year-olds and that generation, then you're screwed going forward, aren't you?
Yeah, who pays the pensions?
Exactly, yeah. I want my state pension. Not working for 50 years and getting jack shit.
You've got a private pensioner, right?
Well, a government one, an NHS one, and other ones.
Right.
Oh well, it's going to.
I don't think we'll get state pensions by the time we're retired.
No, I don't.
It'll be a thing.
Yeah, I know. I thought that.
Right, it's getting a bit morbid. I'm going to move on.
Oh, thank
God.
It's the presidential debate this week.
Oh no!
And Joe Biden gave me a bit of an existential crisis at one point with this statement.
Is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is.
No.
What kind of Cartesian mindfuckery was that?
Mm-hmm.
It's
classic
it's
Joe.
an existential confirmation. You should be heartened by that. That's added 1 billion voters, 1 billion US voters. I don't know how many people are in the States. There's a lot.
Okay. Well, I didn't take all the clips that everyone else took, like about him telling Trump to shut up and all the toing and froing. But I did catch something that I thought was interesting about when they were talking about policing and how the Democrats might help policing, which I think this will be particularly interesting to you, Matt.
They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down.
What?
They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down.
The police need to turn up with a psychologist
or a psychiatrist
from using force. Yeah.
Wow.
Like handlers, like the police have handlers now, like head shrinkers.
What they should do is just, well, I don't know if did they wear body cams on that George Floyd?
They're meant to wear them all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but not all of them are they? Not every state.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's only certain forces, but those apparently are the best way, aren't they? But obviously, there's been loads. I've sort of come across stuff where you read an article and you say, "Oh, the body cams were broken," and it like beat someone to death or something, So,
I mean, you imagine there will be some situations where if an officer gets in a scuffle and wrestling someone, that maybe, it gets corrupted somehow. But yeah, when they say, "Oh, the conveniently it was missing," yeah.
There's been something like that. I think when that guy didn't kill himself and all the CCTV were broken on that floor.
Jeffrey Epstein.
And they were all asleep in the common room. Or whatever. Stuff like that.
Do you not fancy that job?
It's a bad idea.
Do you not fancy that job, Matt?
No.
Going to 911 calls with police and talking people down?
No.
Talking the police down, stopping the police using violence. That's what I read it as.
Oh, no, I read it the other way.
So did I.
I read it the other way.
No.
Talking the perp.
No, it's stopping the police from using violence.
Yeah.
So if you give them a psychologist handler, and you also replace all their batons with foam batons and water pistols, give everyone water pistols, then we'll see where the problem lies.
Have you seen the shield tasers they have?
Oh, isn't that some of the militia groups are using those? They've been banned, haven't they?
I don't know. I just saw a brief clip. It's like a riot shield, but it's got a taser built in.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh well, I've got unrelated to the debate, but there's a clip been circulating of Joe Biden getting roasted for being a plagiarist. I don't know if you've heard this.
Now, on the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech, and apparently he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him, and then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry, he reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Do you know what that's from?
Was it recorded in 1958 or something? It sounds so old.
That's an old clip because it was from his original presidential run in the 80s, I think. Or 90s. It was against George Bush Senior, I think.
It's from the
87.
It's from the Johnny Carson Show, 1983.
Oof.
He was first elected to the Senate in 73, I think. Or 72.
No, I read something about when he made a bid for the White House. That all this came out against him. It derailed his
I think it
campaign.
got regurgitated. I think this was when it was first called in the early 80s.
Yeah. Right, okay.
He's just been around so long, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's old. They're all old.
Yeah. He's got hairy legs.
I got hairy legs.
That's how you can tell he's old.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I watched the debate. It was it was a fucking shit show, to be honest with it. Did you watch any of it?
No, the man said the what do you call him?
Mediator.
Yeah, said it was a dumpster fire. So I thought, no.
And since he's been diagnosed with the Rona.
Who?
Trump, apparently. No, I hadn't heard about it either.
DJT.
They all have. Have you seen this event where they think it's all come from?
No.
It was the inauguration of the judge. There was no social social distancing. There was about 200 people there or something. It might be more. And they're now classing it as a possible super spreader event. There's loads of people there had it, and they were all hugging and kissing each other, and it's all gone round everyone, basically.
The way I'd heard it is that he has a test every day, and it's the 15-minute test, which is only 50% effective.
Okay.
So he had the 15-minute test and tested positive on, say, I think it was the Wednesday, and then he immediately had the PCR test. Yeah. And then he went to this thing before the results of that came back, and then once that came back, that's when he isolated. Well,
so this is where they're saying there's like confusion about when he actually tested positive, because some people are saying Wednesday and then Friday.
He gets tested every day, yeah. But I mean, I think the 15-minute test is an early warning to get the more accurate test, I think. But who knows? Right. Be interesting to see over the next few days what happens with him.
Yeah, they're saying that they said that he's had to have oxygen.
Has that been confirmed?
Yeah, the BBC.
Right.
And he's had his shot of steroids or something. I think he'll be fine. Like Bojo the clown was fine, wasn't he? And he was... if you remember going back to when he was being elected, his physician said he was the finest specimen who's ever run for the presidency ever. So he's probably never going to die.
Well, the thing is, he's famously a proper germaphobe.
Yeah, it's like don't shaking hands, is it?
No, doesn't like bodily contact or anything like that. So,
and yet his wife.
What about when he's grabbing the pussy?
He washes his hands after. It's self-cleaning, the pussy, anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Maybe that's how he washes his hands.
He's a billionaire.
Sorry, Eavesdroppers.
Yeah, everyone was shocked at how little income tax he paid. I was like,
were they?
Yeah, I was like, what? Do you not know how the world works?
No, yeah, $750. He filed for bankruptcy 25 years ago, so he's just been paying it back ever since, hasn't he, allegedly? That was the way he got out of paying tax, wasn't it, for 2 decades? Right. It's just a con, isn't it? We don't remember that story.
Can't say I do. No.
He basically, in about 1995, he filed for bankruptcy, but apparently it's just a common tax avoidance scheme.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how it works, but I assume because you write off all that debt and say you've got that back, I don't know, you have to pay tax.
Do you know, I think our talk about giants last week fucked my head up.
Was it that or something else?
What are you doing, Ben?
He's colouring in.
Can you hear scribbling?
Ben, it's just like last week when you said, I'm not doing emails.
Busy hands.
when he
I was totally emailing last week.
But we just heard you colour in something, and then you said you're not doing anything, and then we heard you put down the pen.
That's so not true.
It was what you were scribbling.
Not scribbling anything. Literally not scribbling anything. I could scribble something now. You can hear what the sound of scribbling is. You ready?
I don't need to because I just heard it.
It's like watching a child play with a nuclear device.
Yeah.
If I had a nuclear device to play with,
what
have I got? Oh, I'd play with it.
After we record, go on.
As I say, why can't you just settle down?
Play with this.
Yeah.
Does it have lights and sounds?
It does, yeah. I think the batteries are a bit low.
Ben is holding
squeeze it a bit. It's incredibly loud.
He's holding a 1 to 1,000 scale Millennium Falcon model. So after we recorded last week's podcast at the night, I had 2 consecutive nightmares.
Nightmares, not dreams.
Nightmares.
Continue.
The first one, I was at school, or high school.
Right.
And I went... Sorry?
Classic.
I went to the toilet, and I was not a child, I was as I am now. And I pulled...
A man-child.
Man-child, yeah. I pulled down my trousers and sat down on the toilet. And
like a bitch.
Like a bitch. Well, it's probably a number 2. And I felt a paw on my knee. Like a cat's paw. Right?
Are you doing it in the voice of Al Pacino now?
No. And do you know, if you've ever been round cats, you get the feeling that they're going to use you as apparatus. You can like feel the pressure, like they're about to leap off you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could feel this pressure starting. I thought, oh, the cat's going to jump out the window, the open window behind my head. So I turned round and the window was shut. And when I turned back towards the cat, I looked at its head and it had a bat's head. Like a horseshoe bat. You know, like the really ugly, like a pig.
Yeah, they're snarly.
But the size of a cat. And it jumped at my face and I woke up.
Because I got high. Because I got high. Because I got high.
That was about 3:30 in the morning.
Right, okay.
I went back to sleep and I had a second nightmare.
Now, can I just ask before you tell us about the second nightmare, did you have a cheese toastie after the podcast?
Nope. The missus asked me that. I said no.
A block of cheese?
No.
Dairy. Bit of acid?
No.
Go on then.
The second nightmare, I was in like a village with my family, almost like somewhere I didn't recognise, but I had the feeling we were on holiday, and we were in sort of like a square, like a village square, and I bumped into Ryan 7. And
right.
Ryan came up to me and said, basically, your kids are in danger. They've been sold.
That's the kind of thing he would say.
The deal's been done, £500 each. The guy's going to come and pick them up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, what the fuck? What? I'll give him the money. He doesn't need to come. No, it's too late. It's been done. The deal's done. What the fuck am I going to do? So I end up barricading the family in a room with Ryan 7 for some reason. And just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then a guy breaks into the room and I jump on him and wrestle him down to the floor and the gun scatters across. And that's when I look at the door and the second guy comes in. Pop, pop, pop. Me, Ryan and the missus.
What?
And then I'm just sort of led, bleeding out, and I can see them both grab my 2 kids and walk out with them.
Hell.
That's awful.
That is terrible.
Yeah.
Did you manage to get back to sleep after that one?
Yeah, for like an hour. Because it was like...
You need to learn lucid dreaming so you can turn those guns into bananas and just like fly through a brick wall or whatever you want. Take control of your dreams.
Do you know any of the tricks for lucid dreaming?
Absolutely not.
Knocking on doors is the thing, isn't it? You said?
Yeah, knocking on door frames to make sure they make the right noise and feel right. That's
in real life? Or?
In real life, in your waking conscious life. Every time you go through a door.
Which one's that?
Just give it a tap. Oh, that's a real door frame. Good. Because then the next time you're lucid dreaming, you'll knock on a door frame and like your hand will go through it. And then that's when you'll click and realise you're lucid dreaming and you put your Superman outfit on.
Do you know what the other one is? Scribbling on Post-it notes.
All right.
In your way.
And the truth shall set you free.
Oh, the other trick is to just, every now and again during the day, just look at your hand and just make sure it looks okay, looks normal. Because next time you're dreaming, you'll look at your hand and you'll have an extra finger, or there'll be an eyeball in the palm of your hand or something weird. And that'll be the trigger. Oh, I'm lucid dreaming. There we go.
You mean the second eyeball, right?
Yeah. Apparently, not really put them into practice, but apparently they work. In fact, I think I heard them off Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. The what's it called? The Affirmations guy.
Cosmic Ordering.
Yeah.
No, it's not Noel Edmonds, isn't it?
Was it?
Okay. Right.
Okay, moving on. I've got a date for your diaries.
Go on then.
Date for your diary, lads. October the 21st.
Halloween. Oh, no, wait.
Now, October the 21st. Put this in your diary. The reason, I'll let Liz Hurley explain why.
Ooh.
So, we have this wonderful thing on the 21st of October where anyone can tune in to something that myself and Dr. Zoe are doing, where we're doing the biggest breast self-check online that everybody can watch, tune in and learn how to check their own breasts. It's on the 21st of October, and we'd love everybody to join in and have a lesson, because it's really, really important to familiarise yourself with your own breasts so you can see if there's a change.
Very good.
So is Liz Hurley going to get her boobs out? Is that what she's saying?
Well, we're going to have to tune in to find out, aren't we?
What's the website?
I don't know. It's all about, she was on this morning raising awareness for breast cancer. Because, with the COVID thing, screenings are down and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So.
Good. A worthy cause.
Definitely.
And also, nice boobs. Yeah.
Have you seen her?
Yeah, she looks good, doesn't she?
55 she is.
Yeah.
She looks incredible. 55. Wonder what her secret is.
An amazing life.
Zero stress.
Yeah, basically.
Was she a model at first? Was she like a supermodel or what? Before Austin Powers?
I think she was a socialite, wasn't she? And then she kind of got in this relationship with Hugh, didn't she? Hugh Grant. And then she kind of tried to be an actor for a bit, didn't she? And she can't act.
She was in that film, that remake. Is it called Bedazzled?
Oh, yeah.
Remake of an old classic, isn't it? With the sort of temptation of the devil. With, I think, Brendan Fraser.
Ooh.
That's a good shout, that film, I think. You're correct.
Who was...
Is he in that film where they go to the centre of the earth?
Yes, it's called Journey to the Centre of the Earth.
No. Oh, is it that one? Because isn't he in the core as well? There's a really awful one with something to do with the poles flipping. But every time it's on, I have to watch it.
I think the core one, it's got J-Lo in, hasn't it? And Stanley Tucci. I think. And they go in that little orb. Is that not when they have to... like you say...
Isn't that Samantha Mumba in the time travel thing?
The time machine. The time machine. What's it? Is it H.G. Wells?
Yeah,
Samantha Mumba. Fucking hell. Blast from the past.
Yeah.
Stanley Tucci is in an upcoming remake. Have you heard about this?
What, June?
The Witches.
Ooh.
Oh, yes. Well, I just saw a poster for it the other day. That film is still terrifying now.
Yeah, my kids won't watch it.
The original Witches. It freaks me out watching it still.
Angelica Houston.
Queen Witch.
Yeah. We all get undressed. Take the faces off.
Inspect the breasts.
Yeah.
The new head witch is Anne Hathaway.
Yes, that's who I saw in the thing. The poster. She was the person.
Yeah. So interesting. We're big Roald Dahl fans. Hopefully it's not as freaky as the original Witches and my kids will be able to actually watch it.
I think it'll be toned down somewhat, but I imagine still quite weird because that's Roald Dahl, isn't it? Hopefully.
They won't be able to watch it in a Cineworld, though.
No.
Did you hear that today?
Well, they'll be able to watch it in a Cineworld, but in Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a trek.
What's happened to Cineworld?
UK and US Cineworld's closing down because Bond was delayed or something. I can't quite figure it out. Something to do with Bond. We were promised by our friend in the industry that this would not happen.
This is the big studios hanging out the cinema companies to dry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to a Cineworld, but when I read the article, it said it's the largest chain in the UK.
One in Burnage, isn't there?
Don't know.
Near there, in Manchester.
That's, Parswood.
Parswood, yeah.
I thought that was a View.
Oh, maybe it's changed.
Can't remember. It's probably switched around a few times.
I think the thing is the View have kind of changed how they operate because sort of like the pricing structure and stuff. So all films now have kind of got they put a surcharge on like really popular films, so they know, so they're like a quid extra to go and see them. But View, they do that, but also in locations like in Blackburn and Cleveland's, all films are £5 to watch basically all the time. So like if you have a smaller kind of captured audience or whatever, then they reduce the prices and they make more money.
You see, if it was not so expensive, we might go or go more often.
Yeah, you just need to move to Blackburn then, or Cleveland's. Yeah. You could go every weekend.
What's it cost now at our local View for a family of 4?
Well, it's $6.99 a ticket now at Preston one.
Oh, is it? That sounds cheap.
Yeah, because that's because of the current situation, isn't it? Though.
Oh, right.
So, like normally,
I thought it'd be 20 quid for 2 here normally.
I think when I went to go and see Star Wars, it was about £13.
Yeah, for an adult, just one adult ticket.
But that's got the extra £1 or £2 on it.
Right.
But Vodafone do the twofers at the moment quite regularly.
Yeah. Is Orange Wednesdays still a thing?
It's Meerkats now, isn't it? Compare the cinema.
Yeah, but that's different times now, isn't it?
Right.
That's it.
I think it's more days you can go on now.
Okay.
Do you remember? I used to show the old text message from Orange.
That guy, that actor, he was in some B movies and then the Orange adverts.
Yeah.
I always got him confused with Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Bacon?
I think so. Little bit same.
Anyway, we're rambling.
Yeah.
Gino's back on this morning, as we found out.
Oh, God, he's got a quiz show as well, hasn't he? What's he doing? Family Fortunes.
Yes, we found this out last week, didn't we? Played the clip.
Did we?
Yeah, he was back on this morning and he was talking about comfort food during the lockdown. And I think he speaks for a lot of men in the UK here in this clip.
That's okay to overindulge in a sad time like this with all this COVID going on. Right?
So it's something to make you feel
something that makes you feel better, and this is where my cheesecake comes through.
Yeah, this
and
is
plus,
worth it.
You know, women have this thing of always they want to go on a diet. You see, I always hear. I never hear.
I think men do too. But
but mainly I think it's women do it. Wobbly. I like,
it's Willoughby, actually, but it's fine.
No, well, Willoughby used to be wobbly, and Willoughby was fantastic. Willoughby was great. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was.
Fact.
He's not very PC. You should have seen the look on Holly's face when he was saying, women going on about diets.
Oh, no.
No, you can't say that. Not in this day and age.
No. I think it's
Do you reckon
probably
he'll get away with
true.
it?
Oh, he gets away. He's Italian. Come on.
It's just what he says. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. Have we anything to add?
No. Past my bedtime.
Yeah. Time's knocking on.
Yeah.
Good. Yep. Right.
Forget
it.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say I started watching The Boys, but I remember we spoke about that not on the podcast.
No.
So I'll save it for another non-podcast conversation.
Okay, well, join us next week. We've got Georgia Van Ralt on next week.
Oh,
yeah.
She's going to be talking to us about ritual magic, sex magic.
Oh.
All that stuff.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Blood sugar sex magic.
Blood sugar baby.
Yep. So, we'll bid you adieu.
Adieu.
Yeah.
Adieus.
Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever. Take care of yourselves.
I got hairy guns.
Because I'm literally a...
Guns. Great.
I've been coming to terms with the fact that
I'm a Marxist.
Because I'm literally a communist.
The magic vaccine.
A big fat shot in the ass.
From hell.
Oh! It's just, super painful.
Like a Judgment Day and Terminating mode, like.
This is Sonny Pickering.
Who the fuck's that?
Yeah, me.
I think you're hitting the point, Phil, that it really bothers me. Because I believe I have an issue in this respect.
Jesus Christ. He's a homophobe and he's a misogynist.